I'm ready.
I'm ready too. Good morning. Afternoon.
It's Sunday.
I love Sundays.
I love Sundays too.
Best day of the week. Okay, that's a lie, but it's a good one.
It's a good lie. If you're going to lie, at least make it be a good one.
I love the vibe of Sundays, but you have that overlooming feeling of working the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only downside. But otherwise, there's no pressure to like have too much fun, which I
Yeah,
also love about it.
it's true. It's like anything good that happens is like just a added value because you're not expecting anything on a Sunday, you know?
Yes. Do you believe in like Sunday fun days, or are you not a partaker?
I think you and I both used to do Sunday fun days together when you lived in Dubuque, but it has been a while since I've done a Sunday fun day.
Yeah, I won't anymore. It's not worth it. Like every time
Mm-mm.
that I used to, like that Monday was so awful and it starts your week off so badly. So
Mm-hmm.
I am an anti Sunday fun dayer. And so I don't do anything on Sundays. I don't hang out with people. I don't go places. Like I'll get stuff done at home, but
Right.
that's like my get my life together day. So if people invite me to do stuff on Sundays, I turn them down.
Yeah, I definitely won't make plans in advance for Sundays. Even we were talking about this before, even having the podcast on a Sunday, it's like my getting things done day too. And so I was like, well, a 1:00 recording time. What can I do? Like, I just like my Sundays to be open so I can pivot as needed.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Well, this week we're going to talk a little bit about, oh my God, why do I always say learn to talk a little bit about? This week we're talking about field trips. And the reason why I came up with this is because the past couple weeks the weather's been super nice, but there's been these like cool misty mornings that have been a little bit cool and damp. And to me, this gives me like a very specific feeling of a school field trip day, which I feel like always happened in the spring.
Mm-hmm. I think you're right. I feel like the fall and the spring were the main times we would go on field trips because we'll get into this later, but one of my distinct memories of field trips was going to the mines. Did you guys do that?
Yes, that's also on my list. I'm excited to hear
Okay.
about what you guys did there.
Yeah, but I feel like it was always in a transition season
Mm-hmm.
where the plants and the animals and things like that were in transition. So I think you're right about the timing of this.
True. And I think a lot of our field trips will actually align because we were in the same school district and in like the expeditionary learning situation or whatever that Dubuque had back in the day. So yeah, I'm fired up. But before that, what are you fired up about this week? What are you mad about?
Well, Maddie, I was telling you when I joined the call, I was hauling ass to get to this recording today. My hair is still like wet because I binged like the show You, last night and had to finish the last episode this morning. And I'm mad/sad that it's over.
Oh my God.
I love this show.
You've talked about that show a lot, but I do want to touch on the piece that you said you finished it this morning. I love having like when I fall asleep in the middle of a show and I have like the second half to watch in the morning, the next morning.
That's what I also told you. I didn't take very good care of myself this weekend in terms of like I fell asleep with my makeup on both nights, didn't really do my nightly ritual. I didn't eat very well either. I actually didn't drink much, but last night
It says much.
I actually only had a couple drinks all weekend, but we started You at like 7 p.m. last night and we're already finished with it. So when I say that, there's 10 episodes.
Oh my gosh.
So I finished it between 7 p.m. last night and noon today. All
so
10
you stayed
episodes.
up late on top of it too.
I stayed up late, fell asleep on the couch during it. So it was one of those things this morning where we woke up, we were trying to figure out where we fell asleep at. And then by the time we finished that episode, we're like, well, there's only like one episode left. We got to just do it, which caused me to be extremely unprepared and late for this. So I apologize in advance. But You guys, I'm going to be honest, season 4 lost me a little bit, but season 5, they end it with a bang. It's great. I'm sad it's over. No complaints here, though, and I'm excited for everyone else to catch up with me because I know I'm on the early end of it.
Did it just come out?
Yeah, came out this weekend.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
you're right.
Friday. Yeah.
So it was the weekend of you.
It was the weekend of you.
Oh, God.
This was a couple years ago. Christina and I were texting a lot about it, and I randomly texted her saying, "How do you feel about the little neighbor boy in you?" And she was like, "In me?" Is that funny? Because then I was like, "Oh, I see how that came off."
And out of everything, the little neighbor boy.
Yeah.
Not just like, how do you feel about you?
Yeah, she was extremely confused.
I was like, the inner child in me? Or
yeah. Or do you think I slept with the little neighbor boy?
Oh my God.
Yeah. But anyways, that's my mad that it's the finale. It's over. It's over. Finito.
Did you say filito? That's like a little fillet.
Do you know why I said it?
No.
I was quoting my favorite movie of my childhood, Bring It On.
And
I always thought she said Filito after she goes, and you know what? We're done. And then a girl chimes in, and now I know it says finito.
Filito. Wow, this is a really epic moment for you. Like the light bulb's clicking on right now for the first time.
Not to get too far off task here, but I gotta say, recording a podcast makes you very self-aware of a few things. One of which, for me, I need to stop saying, and then I was like, and then they were like, and then I was like, when I tell a story. But the second one is that I am very much like my mother in a way that I have a wide vocabulary. I can see it on paper. I know what it means. And then when I go to say it, I say so many words wrong. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do the same thing. And you're second guessing yourself when you say the word and you're thinking, does that make sense? Or is this how it's pronounced? Or
and then I watch it back and I'm like, I used that in the right way, but I said it wrong. And that's really annoying to me. But I always leave it because I'm like, just learn from it, Lexi. But that's embarrassing. Filito and finito. I never even second guessed it. But I learned it as a kid and I just stuck with it. So
that's hilarious. Yeah, it makes you very self-aware when you're repeating these things.
Oh, yeah.
And the public's relying on you to get this right. No, I'm just kidding. They don't care.
No, I honestly think how many people are just driving and hear me say something and they go, that seems off, but okay. And just keep going.
I think that's as deep as it gets. Let's hope so.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to you, not to be mistaken for the TV show.
Wow.
What are you mad at?
Comedic genius.
What are you mad about?
So mine is so boring. I always say that. I need to stop leading with that because whatever. It's my mad. I'm mad about the 5-day work week. What the fuck? It's too much. I need an extra.
It's entirely too much.
I mean, how are people supposed to get home projects done when you have to work 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday? You only have 2 days during the weekend. Usually during the weekend, you have 1 to 2 activities that you have to do. And how are you landscaping your yard and living your life and finding time to relax? Dude, I don't even have children. How do people with children do this? I just can't do any of the projects I want to do and live my life in a balanced way. It's impossible.
It is really bad. It's like the work-life balance to 5 days versus 2 off. That is insane. And wasn't California working on getting Fridays off too at one point?
I think as a whole, like some parties or some people who've run, they kind of include it in their spiel. And I don't know. I think collectively as people, it would have to be a thing that's like, hey, employers, we're not willing to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So it's got to change. Kind of like when people were doing like the hybrid and work from home a lot more. I'm seeing that die down so much too. And companies are bringing people back in the office. And I don't know. I feel like then people are kind of working more then again too. So I don't know.
Dude, even a half day on a Friday would make a world of a difference. Every Friday to have like the last 4 hours of a work day to get something done at home or on
Yeah.
the house, and then actually feel like you can spend your weekend, like actually taking time off to relax.
Yes. Or relax on your Friday, whatever works
Yeah.
for you. Get out of town early on Friday, or
Yeah.
get some stuff done while the kids are at school still on Friday afternoon. I don't know. I don't even have children. Again, I don't think I'll ever find like a good balance to be like, to get things done the way I want them.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I guess that's the struggle of life.
Life is unfair.
I mean, I don't think it shouldn't be unfair. It's not
It shouldn't
unfair.
be.
I don't know. Let's think about changing it
Yeah, so that it's fair.
for
'Cause right
everyone.
now it's unfair. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, your lawn's supposed to look presentable
Yeah. What do you expect? You expect my house to be spotless and all cleaned up in the front, but you want me to work 5 days.
and be like prepared to go in Monday, all set up, ready to go. It's tough. But I think it's because too, like, women aren't staying home anymore. So there's no time to get those projects done. So
That's true.
now that that's changed, I think that there needs to be a little bit of a change. But
Yeah.
that's why I'm
Keep up
mad.
with the times, people.
That's why I'm mad.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Speaking of women staying home, my mom in my childhood, she was a teacher, and as the family started to grow, she started being a substitute teacher. She would be like a long-term substitute teacher. So usually if a teacher was going to be out for like a month, she would be that solid sub for that month, you know. And she would always end up subbing at the schools that I went to because it was just easier that way. She could take me to school with her. But it was very interesting dynamic, like when she was my sub on a few occasions. And then also she knew all the teachers. And with that, she attended like every field trip. So that's what, when I was thinking through this episode today, it gave me a lot of Sandy Apple flashbacks. And I always had to be on my best behavior, you know. She should have probably joined this episode. She probably remembers more of it than I do.
True, and from a very different point of view.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe at some point I'll have to get her on speakerphone and be like, so what? Give us your opinion from a teacher/chaperone perspective.
Right? Like, I don't think that most people's parents were able to even get off and go. So that's awesome that she kind of like was able to go and chaperone.
Oh yeah, she was very present in my school life, maybe a little more so than I wanted, but it had some perks for sure.
For sure. So, okay. So you're going on a field trip. I think the first thing that you needed to do is get your permission slip signed. So like that was never an issue for you.
No, I literally wrote down never forgot. In some cases, I never handed in my own slip because my mom was always a chaperone or volunteer, so she would take care of it.
That's funny. I think I've had to forge a couple of them because I was kind of disorganized in that way, but I was also the family note writer. So like if my brothers or I ever needed time off of school or like we had a dental appointment or something, I would be the one to write the note and sign it. So they all looked like they were all from me. And like my dad.
So they're all consistent.
Yes. So permission slip signage, no problem. I think I still have the signature down. So yeah, I don't even think by the end of my school career, I never even asked anybody to sign anything. I just did it.
That's awesome. I tried forging my mom's signature on just like, for a little bit, she had to sign my agenda every week in grade school. And I tried signing it and it looked like shit. So when the teacher got to me, I just folded right away and was like, I tried. And then they ended up writing a note home to my mom saying I tried to forge her signature and I never did that again.
Which back then was a big deal. Like to get in trouble and have something get sent home or to get a note signed or to get a call. Oh my gosh.
And I was like always a really good student, but I was a naughty kid in elementary school, and like just from being too social they were always splitting me up, writing my name down, like putting checks behind my name because I just didn't shut the fuck up. But
Same.
there was this, me and my friends found one of my agendas one time, and it literally said like, Lexi had to sit by herself at lunch today because she threw a cookie at another student. And I remember vividly, it was like a saucer and it missed him, but it hit the wall and just exploded.
That's something I would do.
That's the worst thing I did. Okay.
Yeah.
Sue me.
I was always beating up the boys. Always. I always got in trouble because I could.
That's what you did at home. Yeah. And fuck them boys, honestly.
Yes. I was a great student. But yes, like behaviorally, like I was just letting my freak flag fly as normal. And yeah,
As you should.
I was just being myself. And I don't know if like my brain was just not created for that school setting.
Yeah. So needed quite a few signatures in that time frame, but the slip for field trips wasn't one I had to worry about.
Yeah, so neither of us ever had to miss one, which I don't. Did you have kids who ever like forgot theirs and had to stay back? I don't remember anybody specifically having to do that unless like they were in trouble or.
I don't remember. And I think like if they didn't get to go, we probably just didn't notice, you know? I mean, what were they going to do? Leave like everyone meets to get on the different vehicles and they just would stand there and not move?
Wave goodbye.
They had to stand against a wall.
Yeah.
Because for some reason that's something they made us do when we were in trouble too.
Oh,
like
we did too.
Stand in that box, lean against that wall. Like
we had the
you
wall.
Can't move from that spot.
At recess, there was the thing called the wall, and you would have to go stand on the wall for like a week.
At Eisenhower, there was the wall, and at Table Mound, there were boxes you had to stand in out in the open. Yeah.
That's cruel and unusual.
Yes. What the hell?
That's terrifying. Oh my God.
You guys, guess what? I turned out fine, and it was no thanks to your fucking box.
Well, maybe it was.
Maybe thank you. Do I take that back?
Maybe it was. Okay, so I mean, what I remember about field trips is the night before. I mean, these were a big deal. Like you would be so excited for a field trip for weeks and weeks and weeks leading up to it. And so the night before, you kind of had like this nervous, excited energy that you were going on a field trip the next day. And it was like this completely different day out of the norm for you. How did you feel? And did you pack your bag and what did you bring?
I felt excitement, like you said. But again, my mom would probably do the majority of the packing for me. I do know that I was one of the few students that always had a poncho back up in my bag in case it rained. She I'm telling you, she was fucking on it. I had a poncho. She had a disposable camera that would either be in my hands or her hands. She was like that parent taking all the pictures that would end up in the 6th grade slideshow.
You had to bring a disposable camera. That was a must. And they were like $5 back in the day. And I still have a lot of photos from the pictures that I would have taken back then just from field trips.
Same.
A lot of bus photos.
Yes. Because that was like one of the best parts. Let's be real. And then I always had like a hoodie or a jacket that would end up being tied around my waist throughout the whole day. Like picture a group of kids walking to the museum. You picture a sweater tied around their waist.
Classic.
That is just what it was.
Yep.
And then I remember a couple of our bigger field trips, we would even wear matching shirts. Did you guys ever have to do that?
Not even once. No.
Yeah. We had matching shirts that we'd wear. I can get into it later, but one of the trips we actually had a competition for whose drawing got to be on the front of the shirts, but they just wanted to identify us. So they're like lime green, bright shirts. So if we got lost around this huge ass museum, they could spot us from a mile away, you know?
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would add that people would bring is if we had like a bus ride, you could bring a Walkman or a Game Boy, which was like a huge flex back then because you could never bring those items to school. So showing off your Game Boy games and your accessories and maybe a CD, you could share a Walkman ear with somebody. That was like exciting to bring those items. The little things that would like get us off back then are so funny.
It could get us off.
Okay, well, yeah. I mean, essentially, yeah.
Yeah, those kids.
And obviously your lunch.
Yes. And that's what I envision when I like, that is like the epitome of a brown paper sack lunch was field trips.
Were you somebody who brought like a packed lunch? Were you a Lunchable person? Tell me about this.
I feel like they usually packed lunches for us for our field trips. So like, yeah, it would be just a bunch of sack paper bags being passed out at lunchtime.
Oh.
That usually. But like in school, I was a hot lunch girl.
Same.
Like I barely ever brought lunch. So I can't really remember what my mom would have packed me, but I can remember in the sack lunches they would pass out, it was usually like a soggy PB&J sandwich.
Yeah, an apple.
And yeah, probably a fruit of some sort.
Maybe instead that day, because there was no refrigerators, maybe you wouldn't have like the milk carton, but maybe it was like a fruit juice with a lid that you would peel off.
Yeah,
it's like
one of those too. Yes. And then I feel like pudding cups were also something that like didn't need a fridge. So I remember getting those.
Oh, pudding. Gosh, when's the last time you had pudding?
I think about it a lot. I like tapioca pudding.
I do too.
I didn't know how you're going to respond to that. And I think about it a lot, but I can't remember the last time I actually ate it.
There's few of us in the world left, but we're here.
Just like I love chunky pudding.
Hey, with the rise of like boba and things like that, I think that's they're tapioca balls, aren't they?
Yeah, they should remarket and like see who they could get now.
Tapioca. Come on. Your time is here, honey. But everyone who works like at those tapioca pudding places, they're probably not really super with it. So
true. That's true. They could like rebrand it. They could say that it has some health benefits to it. They could try to add some sort of nutrients, maybe. I don't know. I feel like this is an opportunity, actually, that maybe we should capitalize on.
Maybe we should. It's like mini boba ball pudding. That's what it is. Boba pudding.
Oh my God. You guys, we quit the podcast. We have a new business.
Yep.
All thanks to field trips.
We're done. But okay, so I was a Lunchable person. I also, for field trip, I went to daycare over the summer too. So I feel like when I'm picturing myself bringing lunches, maybe it is more so on like the daycare field trip side. But Lunchables were the hottest item. I personally always brought the Lunchable with the pizza. The Lunchables with the pizza, but it had to be the one with the extra dessert pizza that had like the chocolate sauce and M&Ms that you'd put on the top, which looking back is so gross and disgusting. But at the time it was elite and that was my favorite.
Yum.
Do you remember also when they came out? I think it was 1999. They came out with the All-Stars edition Lunchables and they were like burgers and hot dogs.
Yeah. How those must not have done well. I never personally tried one. Did you?
I don't think so. No. I would maybe try one if there was like a microwave available. But no way in hell am I eating a cold burger or hot dog. Even back then I knew better, I feel like.
Yeah,
but some kids had that. Some kids were eating them and I think
they're just raw dogging it.
Literally.
They were literally raw dogging their lunch. Gross.
Yeah, I sometimes would base my Lunchable based on the dessert though, sometimes too, like because that's how that important that piece was to me, which is so crazy.
And sometimes it was literally just 2 Oreos in a package.
Yes, but is it Oreos or is it a Butterfinger? I'm going Butterfinger, and therefore I'm getting turkey instead of ham on the cracker stackers.
Yeah. Fair enough, honestly. That's a good way. I mean, I feel like you had a good decision-making process even as a child.
Yeah, I mean, the ham and the turkey are probably the same essentially. Maybe a couple different flavoring drops, but
Yeah, I'm picturing the wetness,
oh my
the
gosh.
meats,
And
the wetness of the
sitting in a bag all day in the moisture in the
Yeah,
summer.
yeah.
Okay, this is going good.
Let's move on.
All right, so it's the night before, all your shit's packed, you have your lunch, you have your camera, your Game Boy's in tow. Transportation. What was your
Mhm.
favorite? What was your preferred way of getting to a field trip? Did you prefer like a parent driver chauffeur situation or a bus?
I wanted the fucking bus. The bus was just the best, having everyone together, sitting next to your bestie. It also didn't help that my mom would have been one of the drivers, and
You
I just
always had to
like,
ride with her.
yes. So I always had to ride with my mom, and then it just depended on how they split up the kids. One time I got to pick who got to come in the car with us, and that was kind of fun.
That's awful. They should not do that.
So my mom had, growing up, we had a family van that like had a bed in the back. We would like, we
Like an
would,
Astro van.
yeah, two bucket seats, a back that like laid down to a bed, and we would put a TV in it too, and it would always overheat because it was not supposed to be in there. But we do that for our longer trips. But everyone wanted to ride with me, and I remember I picked like 4 girls, and then I was on my last one, and I got to Ryan Wernemont. Shout out to Ryan because I know he listens to the podcast, and he's looking down. He's like, "You're gonna probably pick another girl, aren't you?" And I was like, "And Ryan," and he goes, "Really?" And I made his day. I remember it so well. I can't remember where we were going, but that memory sticks out in my head of the one time I got to pick who came in the car with us.
That's a clear memory. By the power vested in you, you were able to bring him into the Astro van world.
I had the power in that moment, and I loved it. And that's probably where it all began. I'm just kidding.
The power. The hunger for power.
And from there, it just spiraled out of control. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, that's a terrible way for them to let students choose other students, by
It was
the way.
kindergarten, too.
Oh my gosh, I'm not here for that at all because being like, I don't know, I wasn't geeky, but I wasn't cool. I mean, I was myself. I don't know,
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I don't
Well,
think that.
also, I don't know if anyone remembers Mrs. Conley. Shout out to anyone that had her in kindergarten. She has passed. I think she passed away when I was in like 2nd or 3rd grade because I actually went to her wake. But she was very old school.
Wow.
So I think it was just old school mentality. They just weren't really.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so as far as parent drivers and chauffeurs, like as somebody whose parents I don't think even drove one time, I loved that more than I loved the bus because I feel like depending on whose car you got, it was so fun and you really got to know the person better and like see their life outside of school, which is always interesting to peer into. And if their parents were cool, they would play music and it was fun.
But I always felt a little awkward. I remember being like, I can't wait to get there. It was never like I was content being in the car in that situation. Whereas
I loved it.
Moving on to the bus, that was fun. Like, that's where I was like, we could do this all day. I don't even care if we get, because it was the social aspect of the trip, right?
Yes.
And
remember we talked about this plane ride that I was on that had 2 school groups on it. It was like a bus. It was like going back in time and seeing everybody move around, hop seats, face backwards. It was hilarious.
Facing backwards. I forgot about that. Jumping up, like holding onto the seat and being like, "Hey, you guys."
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's cute. Did you ever feel pressured, or did you ever sit by a crush?
No, I never. Number one, if I had a crush on someone, I would never have the guts to go sit next to them or hang out with them. I didn't really intermingle. I mean, I hung out with boys, but I was like playing soccer with them. I was not interested in dating them.
Right.
What about you?
I had boys ask, but luckily having Maggie as my best friend, she would shoot them down and be like, no, she's sitting by me. Maggie was my indefinite bus buddy for every school trip.
In elementary.
Yes, in elementary and in junior high too.
Oh
We
my
were
gosh.
lucky enough to when I transferred schools in 4th grade up until 8th grade, like we were inseparable. We went to the same school, we were in the same house. We were in the same house as you in junior high
Mhm.
too.
Yeah. As far as the bus seating, would you guys try to sit in the back or the
Yes.
front? And was there like school bus politics?
Yeah. Okay. Just think about this. We talked about our bus buddies. We talk about everything beforehand, but there's this added anxiety of like, we're gonna race to the bus. We gotta get there first because we gotta get the farthest back that we possibly can. And we don't trust anyone to actually do what they said they're gonna do. Right.
What do you
Like
mean?
like we tried figuring out the bus like seating arrangement beforehand, but we didn't trust that people wouldn't try to take the back if they got there before us,
Okay, are we talking school buses? Or are we talking like travel coach
know?
buses?
For the most part for us it was school buses. We did have a couple bigger field trips where it was the coach buses, and I remember Maggie and I had to sit in the front in the coach bus because I get car sick, and those for some reason triggered it differently than the other buses.
I'm the same way. I honestly usually probably sat up front by the parents and teachers because I loved talking to them. This is not a joke. This is real. I really enjoyed the conversations with the adults. And I also do get bus sick. So I was
Yeah.
aware of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've always been a dork in that way. So
A dork.
but then high school was very different where when we were on trips like on the coach buses then I would try to sit in like the middle back. And I remember going on even a couple with you because
Yeah.
we joined a club in high school
Yeah.
solely to go on a field trip once a year to
Yep.
Chicago.
I have that written down later because I was going to talk about that too. But we pretty much just effed off. We didn't follow any rules, but they didn't keep an eye on us. So that field trip was actually pretty fucking sick.
Yes. And I remember is it that trip that we have pictures and the buses back then are so funny because they're so colorful. There's like confetti on the seats, like the
Mhm.
coach buses with the confetti
Yeah.
looking
Yep.
seats. And there's a picture of like me and you and Brittany, like
Yep.
Mab. And like I see this picture in my head perfectly that we must have been going somewhere like that.
I
Or
think it was.
yeah. So the bus rides like that were so fun. And we would
Yeah.
consistently probably drive 3 hours on those buses. It was a long day.
Yeah. It was a long day and we get back late. I remember everyone would sleep on the bus and I would have this like epiphany, like looking around being like, I've never seen any of these people sleep before and I'm watching them sleep right now. It's kind of like
Oh, it's seen
weird.
people in the wild.
Yes, exactly.
And
But
then I feel like we would always, when we were on trips together, we would always sing songs and be probably super annoying. Were you
yeah,
always like that, or was that just with me?
I think that was just with you.
I'm honored.
I remember on the bus, I know I saw so I think when I was younger, we'd sing things like 99 bottles, like
Oh, you
99
did?
bottles of pop on the
Beer?
wall. What would you say? I was going to say beer, but they wouldn't let us say that.
No way. Well, maybe back then.
Take one down, pass it around.
98 bottles of.
Whatever it was on the wall. But I remember Maggie and I used to fog up the windows and play games like by writing in the fog with our fingers. We
Nice.
play like tic-tac-toe and stuff on the foggy windows. That was like our main entertainment.
Gosh, I don't remember anything other than that.
What songs did we sing? Like High School Musical?
Yeah.
Or that was my only
we'll get
guess.
into
I
that
don't
on
really
that one
remember.
trip. I think that's all we did.
Yeah, those were our one-hit wonders. Which, by the way, JC's getting into High School Musical right now.
Oh, hell yes. We have so much to teach young Grasshopper.
Yeah, exactly. So now we can relate to her a little bit more.
Yeah, it's been a while. I've been waiting.
Oh my God. So speaking of the Chicago trip, I think we could consider that an elite trip, right?
Yeah, so it's funny because I think we were equally excited no matter where we were going, like the night before and stuff. But there were some trips that were like elite versus low key tragic. And there are some real tragic ones I remember. But let's start with elite. What are like examples of the best field trips?
God, I can't tell if it was the place we went or just like the class you were with. Which, by the way, can I touch on this real quick? Another nostalgic thing. Do you remember how the classes would like compete a little bit? Like you had competition with the other classes?
Like other schools,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Kind of. Yeah. You would see the other schools and be like, who are they? But then even like the classes in my school too, we would like I feel like the teachers pitted us against each other because they were trying to manipulate us to be good. And they'd be like, oh, Mr. Carnahan's class is being so quiet right now. And Miss Manikowski's class is so loud. And so then we would
Oh.
like get a little competitive and like who was acting better.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, because we didn't really interact with the other classes extremely. Like, you didn't interact with the other classes every day.
Yeah, only at recess. And that wasn't very long.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
It was a nice, yeah. So it was cool because we got to spend time with them too.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I feel like that added to if the field trip was fun or not, depending on who you're with, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you mentioned, our schools did some pretty kick-ass field trips that a lot of the other schools in the school district didn't get to do. For one, we got to stay overnight at the Omaha Zoo one time.
We did not do that, but I asked Kurt earlier today what his favorite field trip was, and he said they went to the Omaha Zoo and it was his favorite.
Did he go to Table Mound?
He did, yes.
Yeah, so yeah, same. That's part of the reason my mom actually transferred me back to Table Mound because I was there for kindergarten. Then the school districts changed and they bused me out to Eisenhower. And then my mom open enrolled me back at Table Mound because of like all the cool things they did in like fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, literally.
Expeditionary learning.
Yes. And the Omaha Zoo was a highlight. We even got to like all sleep in the same room next to each other.
Okay, that's crazy. I don't think that would ever fly anymore, would it? Do people go on sleepover trips?
All the chaperones were in there too, and it was just like this big open room. So I mean, I don't know. Nothing could have really happened.
Well, no, but just to have kids like all sleep together, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
You know?
But it was so cool.
I've never stayed overnight. Did you guys go to did you guys do like a pioneer expedition?
Yeah.
So
yes.
One of ours like was the Western Expansion pioneer situation, and we went to Apple River and we got to live as pioneers for a day. And
Did you get to make butter?
I think so.
Yeah.
Made butter, had a campfire, we made stew, we did skits around the fire, and I still remember the skits and who was in them. And this was in like 5th grade. That was elite. Did you go to space camp in 6th grade?
I had space camp written down too. Do you remember what your role was?
I didn't go.
No.
We didn't go to that. I think it was canceled because like the class before us was awful or something.
Oh my God. That was one of my favorites, honestly. And when we got there, they assigned us all jobs and we actually acted out what like a typical mission would look like. And I got to be the person talking over the microphone and relaying all the messages.
That's crazy.
And because I ate that shit up. I mean, It's basically what I'm doing right now.
Yes. That's crazy because astronomy was my shit back in the day.
That was another cool one I had written down. We also like went to an overnight camp like situation. And I think this was actually tacked on to the Omaha Zoo one. We were gone for like 2 or 3 nights. It was a week-long like trip. And we stayed at this camp where we did all the campy things like ropes courses, archery, canoeing, things like that. I don't know. Where was that?
I think they did one at Camp Courageous, but I'm not sure.
I can't remember the name to save my life, but my mom was there the entire time. So,
do you remember in middle school? I just had this flashback. Do you remember going to Medieval Times in Schaumburg, in Chicago area?
We would have been on the same trip together, Maddie.
Yeah, I just remember that.
I'm still living off that memory. Remember, I wanted to do that for my birthday this year. And everyone was making fun of me being like, she's holding on to this memory in 8th grade. It's never going to live up to her 8th grade memory. But I was one of the princesses that, like, remember the knights handed out like sashes to like.
Oh, yes. What color? Do you remember?
I was yellow.
Me too. Okay, that makes sense because we were probably in the same house, so sitting in the same
Yeah.
area.
So they probably handed out a few to us.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember our knight did not win. So it
I
didn't
don't
really
remember
matter
that.
at the end of the day. But I remember I loved the food. I thought it was so fun. The bus ride was so, oh my God, 8th grade bus ride.
Yeah,
It was fun.
that was like a time of so much exploration socially. So it was probably very interesting and very awful for any adults or teachers.
Right. Oh yeah.
But
And
and then go ahead.
it's okay. I was gonna touch on our shared memory of the mines of Spain.
Yes. So did you have the same experience as us? We had to choose a particular plant, one that we could find in the wilderness, and then we had to do like a project on it.
I remember them burning the prairie grass, and then I remember us like looking for tadpoles, catching tadpoles and analyzing them and letting them go again.
We did plants, and so we went back, I think, once a week for multiple weeks, and we had to go find our plant. And so it was funny because I was out hiking this winter on a winter hike, and I said, "Oh, you guys have curly dock out here." And they're like, "Oh, I'm impressed. You know what that is?" And I was like, "Well, that was my plant I did a report on one time, and so I know everything about it. You can grind it up to make bread." And it was funny.
Oh,
Don't you have those
cool.
things in your life? Do you have those subjects in your life that you did a report on like one time and now you're an expert for the rest of your life in it?
Yeah, eating disorders.
Oh, capital punishment and capital punishment and
I don't know
raccoons.
why. I don't know why. I just like every time I had to do a speech, I just like picked eating disorders as one, and then I kept doing it as my because I did it once, so I kept doing it again, and
It
now
was
I'm
one of those taboo topics though that there were a lot of books about that was kind of interesting and kind of deep and dark to
yeah,
read
and
about.
I think low key it came from like a good place because I had some people close to me in life that were battling with that. And so I think
Mhm.
that's why it was like top of mind for me because I was like wanting to understand it better. But then it got out of hand when I gave like 3 different speeches on it throughout the course of my education. So
You're like, I got
whatever.
this down. I know all about this. This is my special interest subject.
Yeah, what the fuck? But I remember now we went to the mines to pick seeds off the prairie grass before they burned it. We like
Mm.
collected seeds off of it.
To save it?
I don't
Save the
know.
seeds?
I should have paid more attention in school.
That's okay.
Um, Back then my ADD was terrible and I didn't even know what it was. So, um, moving on to tragic though, I feel like anything now I love them. Back then, most things with a museum I wasn't interested in. I remember we had to go to like it was probably an old president's house somewhere nearby. Do you
Herbert
remember?
Hoover, West Branch. I have very fond memories of that trip. Yeah, that was a very boring museum.
Mm-hmm. And I hated how they would make like paperwork, homework, like to follow around and fill in the blanks. It stressed me out because I just like I didn't care. I wasn't paying attention, but then I had this added anxiety of needing to fill out all of these questions while you're walking around to make sure you're paying attention, and I wasn't. So those really pissed me off.
What about like a museum? I remember you and I went on a trip to, I think it was the Field Museum in Chicago.
That was the exception.
And the museum itself was awfully boring, right? So we joined Sierra Club solely for the purpose of going on this field trip once a year to Chicago to the Field Museum. And we would spend the whole time on the bus being goofy as hell. It was kind of cool though, because it wasn't a class, it was a club. So whoever happened to be going on the trip, you kind of got to know really well. And we kind of goofed off the whole time. We didn't talk to anybody on the trip the entire time at the museum, right?
Right. We just like found our own little nooks of the museum and like literally fucked around. We took pictures. Remember, we dressed up, took pictures.
We still have them. We still
have them. Yeah. They're
And
on
we
our
would
MySpace. If you guys want to look up our old band MySpace, we have a lot of the photos on there. I think one of them's labeled digital get down.
Yes. These were some high-tech photos.
MySpace.com backslash MySpace.com backslash Malbolicious.
And we would record songs on your phone, I think.
We created Hell No on that trip.
What were we recording on? How could we have done this? Was it a phone?
I think
there was no smartphones.
I don't know.
It might have been
made it up. We made it up on the trip, and then I think we'd record them on my computer. I always remember sitting in front of my computer with you.
But I specifically remember going into certain rooms and singing and harmonizing because the acoustics in the museum were simply too good.
It must have been my phone. That's the only thing I can think of.
And it was a flip phone, though, so it's crazy. But you did have a digital camera.
Yes.
All the pictures were taken with a around the wristband digital camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember having to be so careful, like not to drop it in all pictures. Yeah. Like if someone's taking a picture for you, you're like, put on that wrist, put that thing around your wrist.
Exactly. The handoff was so careful and slow.
It's so But yeah, and then and again, anything in Chicago. I remember one time I went on a trip to Chicago. I think it was for like anatomy. We went to see like the body exhibit where they had like the actual cadavers that you were going to look at. And me and my two friends, we literally just left the museum for the whole day. Went outside, ripped some darts, walked around Chicago, came back in time, and nobody ever knew. We were kind of naughty.
Ripped some darts?
Smoked some cigs.
That's a saying?
Yes.
I would have guessed you were like doing fucking heroin from the sounds of that. Jesus.
No, we were ripping some darts and walking around downtown Chicago thinking we were so cool at age 17.
For me, the tragic ones were usually the museums at a young age.
Lexi, the tragic ones were we went to a recycling center. We went to the Dubuque County Jail, the old jail. Do you remember doing that?
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Didn't they make it into like an art place though?
Very recently. Very recently.
Okay, I vaguely remember.
What about the water treatment plant?
I don't remember that.
Oh my gosh. I feel like everyone went to a water treatment plant for some reason. And
you probably did. I probably forgot.
Oh, that was tragic. That was bad. So anything like courthouse, Capitol building, that was always kind of boring too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, water treatment plant and recycling center really took the cake for me on the tragic ones.
I don't believe that sounds terrible. Maybe I blocked it out.
Maybe.
We probably did it.
Yeah, you were so close.
I don't know.
Lexi lived Dallas at Tripla, downwind of the treatment plant. Have you ever heard of that? Some How I Met Your Mother fan is understanding what I'm saying.
Okay.
Right now.
Where I am right now, I can smell it on a super humid day from here.
No, if you're downwind from the treatment plant.
For sure. I was riding my parents' e-bikes a few weekends ago.
Bikes. Just say bikes.
No, because it's cooler.
Oh, I thought the opposite.
No, it's awesome. You need to try it, Maddie. It's awesome.
I was riding my parents' e-bikes.
And I rode down by the treatment plant. And dude, when we were going past the treatment plant, I fucking knocked that bike up to going like damn near 40, just trying to get through it. It smelled so bad.
Was it that stinky?
It was really stinky. And that softball field is right next to it. And when I used to have to play there, God, when that wind went that way, some days I could barely stand it.
I also played DGIO.
Yeah. The field trip's over. You're about to leave. But first, you have to hit up that gift shop.
Okay, there's one gift shop, oddly, that I remember the most, and it was the Herbert Hoover Museum in West Branch, Iowa. that you brought up earlier, which was funny that you also remember this trip. I purchased a boomerang there, and I had it for so long. So that trip changed my life because I thought I was so cool that I had a boomerang that I purchased at the gift shop. That had
Were you
nothing to do
good
with
at
Herbert
it?
Hoover.
Were you good at it? Did you boomerang well?
No, I don't.
I don't think I've ever thrown a boomerang correctly to make it come back to me.
I think I got it down a little bit, but I gave up pretty easily. But
Mm-hmm.
what is there anything that you remember getting specifically, or just like remember walking through and like what items did they usually have in these?
Um, I always usually got something you could consume. So like the rock candy was huge for me, which tastes like
Oh,
sugar and dye. That's
yes.
like what it was. But like when they had the big, long, skinny rock candy suckers, I
Yeah.
loved those. And they like hurt to eat them. Like you're trying to suck on them like a normal sucker and they're spiky.
But they were like,
It's sharp.
they were so, you only got them on special occasions. So they
In
were
that
so
kind of instance.
special.
I remember I got some gum that like looked like gold though. You know what I mean?
Fool's gold gum. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to know what you're talking about because it came in this shitty bag, this little bag with like yellow string. That was.
Yes. Exactly. So like things like that, but then I
What about
always
the,
would
what about like the mini like chocolate rocks? Do you remember those? Like,
yes. Those were kind of like I would eat those right now. Yeah.
yeah, I bet they're pretty good still.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
bet they are. I hope they're as good as I remember
Or
them.
astronaut ice cream.
What's that?
It's essentially Dippin' Dots, I think. But
Okay,
they
that's
have
what
it
I
in places
envisioned.
like that. And like fudge. That's a big thing at gift shops too, I think.
I just like lectured the shit out of JC because she's recently discovered Dippin' Dots, and when she sees them, she wants them. And I had to be like, dude, I get it. I was there once, but can we just like look at this like logically? They're so expensive and they're not as good as regular ice cream. They're just not.
No.
Like you almost want to wait for it to melt a little bit so it's just like normal ice cream. It doesn't taste any better. And she's just like, but they're so cute.
Yes.
But I remember every time there was a way to smash a coin, I would do it. You know, like
Oh,
smashing the pennies and
that's a
like,
good
yeah,
one. I forgot
yeah.
about that. Yeah. The
Hmm.
only thing I really remember is that boomerang. I probably only had like $5 to spend. And so I selected my items very carefully and thoroughly before
Hmm.
picking which one I was going to walk out with, show everybody on the bus, and bring home.
Yeah, my mom wasn't a fan of the gift shops. I don't know if it's just because I was the last one and she was like, I'm fucking done with this bullshit. But she really didn't give me, she didn't want me to buy anything from them. So
Yes, I
usually
would be that
got the very
mom.
small things. Begged her for a sucker.
That a mom.
Speaking of her again, though, yeah, it's very interesting to try to envision those trips from her perspective and the teacher's perspective. I feel like it has to be. I feel bad for them now looking back.
Me too, but they also made a choice. They made a choice to go. I feel like if I had kids, I would go because I would enjoy like the chaotic energy,
Mm-hmm.
but also the teachers. Like, was that a fun day for the teachers or was it not? Teachers, please give us your feedback. I know a couple teachers who do listen, so I'll be asking you next time I see you.
Yeah.
What are field trip days like for you? Do you get that excited before the trip feeling? I'm guessing probably not, but maybe you do.
I don't know. I remember one of our German trips. We got on the bus and the back of the bus smelled like straight up dope. Like someone obviously like wake and baked and got on that bus.
Stop.
And our teacher at the time, Frau Dost, she was our German teacher. Do you remember her at all
I
in high
remember
school?
who she is,
Yeah,
but I did not take German.
she was like a little ditzy, and she gets on the bus and she walks back. She goes, "All right, we're gonna like whatever." Does her opening speech, and then she goes, "God, it stinks back here," and she's just like audibly sniffing, and then she goes, "It straight up smells like dog dookie in here," and the back of the bus just fucking loses it. And I like now looking back, I feel bad for her, like that she She just had no idea, and she's just trying to wrangle these kids that like it was a bad class. Like I could name some names and you would be like, "Oh my god, she had her hands full,"
Oh my
and
gosh.
just the unlucky luck of the draw.
Well, I think you know why. I'm going to be honest. Why did you take German?
Because it was supposed to be easy.
Ding ding ding.
Yeah.
Like that's the people that were taking German. I feel like
Yeah.
that's not the rule, but I feel like for the most part that's why people took it. So
Right.
and we were required to take a language. So if people heard it was easy, it was probably like somewhat of the troublemaker sometimes.
Hold on. I want to cold call my mom and tell her to explain field trips as a teacher in like one sentence.
Hello?
Hey,
Hey.
are you partying?
Oh, we're at the Olive Mill.
We want to know from a teacher's perspective, were field trips fun or what did you think of them? Just a couple sentences.
I thought they were fun and very educational for, because they're more hands-on for kids.
Yeah, but did you ever get a bad class?
No, I think most of the kids were really good on field trips because it was something different.
Okay, you don't have a funny memory to share about a field trip?
No, other than sixth grade camp when I froze on the what was that? The tree lines?
The ropes course. I talked about that earlier. I forgot my mom
and
got
I
up on the...
I froze and I started shaking so bad that the rope was going back and forth.
The entire ropes course was shaking and they had to go up and help her down. She had to get down.
Somebody had to come up and get me because I couldn't move.
I was so embarrassed. I forgot about that.
I was too.
So there you have it, boys and girls, a chaperone's opinion of a trip. Did you love being on the trips with your kids or did you hate having to be with us?
No, I loved it. I loved every minute of any time I could go with you kids on your field trips.
Oh, that's sweet, Mom. Okay, bye, Mom.
Bye, Sandy.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Educational. I thought she was cammed.
That was so sweet.
I know. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting her to be like, "Oh, this one time you were such a little bitch."
No, she said, "Anytime I could spend with you kids was time well spent." That was so sweet.
Okay. All right.
Well, on that note, field trips. I loved them. I think it's so important for this to continue on. And they may not have made us experts on history, science, picking seeds, but they made us experts on social awareness.
And shooting darts.
Ripping darts.
Oh, inconspicuously, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Field trips gave us our first taste of freedom. Well, maybe not you. Because your mom was shadowing.
Because my mom was very much there.
Yes, that's so funny.
I love it.
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. And if you have any ideas of topics that you want us to talk about, anything nostalgic, let us know.
And don't forget to follow us for new episodes every Friday on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Wait You're Mad.
Bye.
Bye. Don't forget, don't leave without your buddy.